Hello and welcome to Chronoswiss, here in our ateliers in Lucerne. My name is Oliver Epstein and I'm the owner and managing director of Chronoswiss. We are sitting here in the ateliers where we produce our watches, where we dream about watches, where we brief watches day in and day out. We do the prototyping here, we do the Guilloché here, the enameling. So basically we're sitting in the heart of our ateliers, and I welcome you again. I'm very flattered to see that many people are joining in from around the world, and that's a very nice sign for me and my team. We're a family business, we are an independent family business, and I think this says a lot about the mindset. Here in our atelier, it's all about freedom of creativity. That's what we create every day, and that's what makes us keep on going. That's where the fun comes in, basically. We love what we're doing, and we try to create watches that are out of the ordinary. And this is also the theme today. We're going to talk about the Paraiba watch that we have launched just recently. And with the Paraiba watch, we're also going to explain you what we understand under modern mechanical. But before we do so, I'd like to introduce you also to Beat Weinmann, who is sitting here with me today, my colleague.
Thank you, Oliver. Hello to everybody.
And the idea is that we guide you through Paraiba, some watches, how we do the Guilloché, and what modern mechanical means.
Let's start.
Shall we?
Yeah.
Okay. So the idea is to quickly show you just a 1-minute movie, but I think this is important to understand where we're coming from and where we're heading. And let's roll the tape. We showed you this movie because I think it's a nice way to introduce you to modern mechanical. At the beginning of the movie, you saw the old machines, the Guilloché machines, rose turning engines, where we worked the Guilloché on, 100 years old and older. So this is the old tech. And then at the end, towards the end of the movie, you saw the PVD coating, the new colors that we apply. And this old tech and new tech that we combine, this is what we call modern mechanical. We take something from the past and we combine it, and that's where we are today. So modern mechanical, we go more into details afterwards, but the main theme, Beat, I think is the Paraiba. That's what we start with right now.
Oliver, I would say we have seen many green watches coming out on Watches and Wonders, many watches with green dials, and there is already the talk that green is somehow the new blue. But actually, we can say that we think that the Paraiba is probably one of the most spectacular blues or greens what we have seen so far. So let's jump a bit into the detail. And we already get nice comments, actually, that the Paraiba is an amazing watch. And we're happy to answer all the questions, or we try to answer all the questions what we get up here during this webinar here. So please ask your questions, and we're going to answer them.
Yes, so whenever possible, we want to have it.
Let's do a lively thing here.
As interactive as possible.
Absolutely. So we have seen now the Paraiba in the video, and we're going to show you now how it looks more with our live with our 4K camera system here.
Good. So Paraiba, the name comes from a region in Brazil where they find the very famous tourmaline stone. When we created the watch and we looked at the color changing on the watch that goes from light purple blue to deep green blue, even into a petrol green, it was clear that we will call it Paraiba. And I think this is the secret of the watch, that the colors and the combination of the color and the guilloché gives you this reflection. And Bert, I think we can say every person we're talking to has a different view and different imagination when they look at the watch and how the colors are changing.
Absolutely. And so maybe a nice thing is when this Paraiba is laying somewhere, which is a rare occasion because the watches we produce, they're going to be delivered absolutely fastest because it's really a hot item. But when the watch is laying in the atelier, I really always have to touch it. It's such a outstanding and a unique timepiece to look at. So
it's ever changing. It's ever changing. When we look at the watch here again, I mean, maybe in real it's again different, but I think you can nicely see on the camera how you have this changement in colors.
Yeah.
And we're using a short wave guilloché. This is something we're going to explain you in more detail later. But the short wave guilloché, which you see here, has a different type of reflection versus a long wave guilloché. So when the light comes in with the PVD coating, which is this greenish blue, as we call it, gives you this ever-changing color that reflects. Talking about the watch, it's a retrograde 30 seconds. We call it open gear regulator because up here you see the mechanism of the regulator, and because you see inside, we call it open gear. Actually, it's a hybrid dial. Hybrid meaning that you see the bridges on the side here. You see another bridge down here, and you see that the wheels of the regulator mechanism are mounted on top of the dial. So actually, without the dial, we wouldn't have the movement working. So the dial becomes part of the movement, and that's why we call it hybrid. And down here, you have the 30 seconds retrograde that flips back when it comes to 30 seconds. We have worked a lot with retrograde movements in the past. You might remember the balance chronograph. You might remember even farther back the Delphis. So it was just a question of time to return to the retrograde second here.
So actually the question for the retrograde, we have on Instagram a question. We have an Instagram question here. Is this your first color charging dial or did you have others before? Second, do you have any plans for compete retrograde, not just retro seconds in the future? So you're answering this already a bit, or let's say, what is the answer for this?
Well, the color changing, I think we have been the first one actually doing these color changing dials. And we started last year with the Ocean, which has been a more bluish watch. The story goes back, I love sailing in the sea, so we had to create somehow a watch that reflects the sun that comes into the water and reflects out again. So this was the first kind of color changing dial. And then this year it's the Paraiba. So and I think we continue doing this because it's beautiful to have a watch which is always kind of different. And talking about the retrograde, yes, I just mentioned we had the chronograph balance, which was a retrograde day and second, and farther in the past it was the Delphis. So this is things we take up again. I think it's beautiful to have a red line in your collection and also go back to the past, bringing in some of the design elements you created maybe 10, 20 years back.
And you like the Delphis? You personally, right?
Very much, absolutely. It's one of our important pieces, I think, yes.
Okay. So there is an anniversary coming up soon, huh? Okay.
Bert, Well, we don't want to go too fast forward, but
Okay.
yes, we talk about this next time.
Also, we have.
Shall we look at the backside of the Paraiba?
No, yeah, of course.
Just to give you the round look. It's a steel case. It's the famous Chronoswiss crown, which we always use. You have the satinage on the side, the straight lugs, and then of course we have an open case back. We always have open cases, so you can see the inside of the dial. And I think important is that when you work with details, the rotor is in the same Paraiba green that we use on the front side on the dial. There's a lot of details in the watch itself. You have these, I'm going to try to zoom in here. You have these big blocks of superluminova indexes.
We can show this as well with the UV lights, what we have just on the left hand of you. Here, we just delivered it.
Let's see.
So.
Yeah, so these are actually blocks of superluminova that are cut out of a big block.
They are a lot better to see when it's live. So when I woke up this morning at 5:30, mine was glowing dramatically. So it's really spectacular.
It's a lot of volume, so they keep the light very well inside.
Okay, so this was not really that good to show now in our live presentation here. So
you have the trigonometric dials, hands, that are also filled with superluminova, so they glow very nicely in the night. And then we work a lot with different structures. Even though all in black, we work with poly structures, with structures that are matte, with a different coating. So to come up with a nice contrast, having the same colors but different contrast, and this creates also a very balanced watch in the end. We do them 50 pieces. They're water resistant up to 100 meters. And well, I think this is, in a nutshell, that's what the Paraba is about.
Yeah, and so the minute hand on your watch is almost covering the limited series of this particular watch, what you have in hands right now. So it's a special number, what we have on this watch, right?
If I can see correctly, it's number 1, yes.
Number 1, huh?
No,
we have 1 minute to go and then it's covered. So, okay. So maybe let's talk about this particular number 1 a bit later on in this webinar here. So before we are going to show you some other Guilloch styles to compare a bit, let's go maybe into some of these interesting questions. So there is a question from Patrick. I usually buy my watches through authorized dealers while on vacation in the Caribbean. Will you be adding any authorized dealers in the near future?
Well, our strategy is to add dealers. We have certain key markets where we are strong with dealers, and we also decided the last couple of years in some markets to cut down on dealers and just to go with a handful of dealers. I think for a family company and niche brands such as ours, we want to just have the same mindset where we live here day in and day out with our dealers. So it's about understanding the watch, understanding the handicraft. So we are planning on adding 1 or 2 dealers in the Caribbean, yes. But it's also a question of having the right one and finding the right ones, because what we do is for the long term.
But the alternative is, of course, as well that if there is no retailer in the Caribbean, that we could sell the watch directly to you, Patrick. So you are always welcome to get in contact with us, and we do our best that we serve you in the best possible way.
I think this is an interesting point. We do both. I think today, as a small brand, you need to have both pillars. So we work with retailers. This is our bread and butter. And we have plans on increasing retailers, but as Bert just mentioned, sometimes you live someplace, you cannot get to a dealer. So today, in particularly COVID time, has helped us also to present all our watches online and getting sometimes into contact as we do right now with the webinar. I think this technology also helps to do direct sales if necessary.
And an interesting point is actually that the first question what we have received on Instagram is from a customer who has just purchased the Paraiba through a retailer in the United States. And we were in contact with him as well on the side to support, because he was asking actually when his watch is going to be delivered and things like that. So we responded to him directly on Instagram. And there is a second example, what we just have received on Saturday. We have received an email from Gene, who has received his Paraiba directly from us. And he was writing that my watch arrived this afternoon. To tell you that it has exceeded any and all my expectations would not do this beautiful piece justice. And I mean, he was writing an entire text about his relationship to Paraiba and to the stone as well. And thank you, Gene. I mean, I hope you look here this webinar, and it was really, I mean, we had to give it into the team and to wish everybody a nice weekend. And so this shows actually how we sell through retailers, or we can sell directly, and that the main goal is that we have happy customers.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. That's our goal. But thank you, Gene, and this was really a nice comment for the weekend.
Okay, there is another interesting question. There is a question in German from Markus. Mir gefällt die Night and Day in blue orange. So he likes the Night and Day blue orange. And on our website, it is not anymore on stock, or not on stock. When would this watch be available again?
Well, the issue is, as you might know, we only do limited series, sometimes 50, sometimes 35 pieces. Some watches are not limited, but if they're not on the website, it means they're sold out. But please, if this is the case, contact us directly. Maybe get in contact with Bert, and we'll try to find out a retailer that might still have the watch and will help on this side.
There's actually Juwelier Engel in Trier who just has received one.
Okay.
I know that this might be available, but otherwise it could be that there is one other around the world, but this is really a super rare piece, and so basically sold out. But Juwelier Engel in Trier, that could be an option. I know.
And if not, call us and we'll make sure we find one for you.
Yes. Okay.
So we have so many questions. May I propose we go a little bit
and then
through to litigation, and we'll go back to the watches, because there might be some people who said, well, they talked so much, but what about the watch?
You're right, and you're the boss.
No. So the idea was to show you, I think, a couple of different patterns, so you understand the difference of the Guilloché. And maybe we do this quickly, and then we go into some other questions, if that's okay.
Let's do this. So, what watch are you going to show here? So we're going to show you the big wave pattern, what we have on this wonderful blue piece here.
Yes, because I think we mentioned before, you have different types of Guilloché, and depending what kind of Guilloché you use, you have a different reflection and a different depthness. And what is happening here we have a long wave Guilloché, which we call a big wave, also the name of the watch. And this means that the amplitude is very small, but the period of the Guilloché when you cut it has become very long. So you see it's a very long wave, and it's a much more tender way of reflection than when I show you again the Paraiba. But the color changes here are also more limited than to the one you see on the Paraiba dial. This is then here in comparison the short wave Guilloché, which gets you a much different reflection.
So that means the color change is a combination of the pattern and the CVD coating what we're using here. So
correct.
And there was a lot of testing ahead of the result of this watch. So
well, you know, when you came, there's always a lot of discussions here between us, between the team. But I think this is what makes our watches different, because we have a lot. That's our mindset. A lot of ideas, and it's not always that the first time you create a watch, it's okay. So sometimes you put the designs back into the drawer and you take them out a couple of weeks later and you say it's beautiful, or you say, okay, it's good that we put it in the drawer. And in terms of guilloché and colors, we normally do a handful of guillochés, and then we add a handful of colors and create 20 different dials. And based on this, then you go into the design phase and you try out on prototyping each single watch.
There was actually a statement from Carla, but the name Paraiba is a registered name by the Brazil government for the Paraiba gemstones. Yes, can be. But the point is actually that the name Paraiba was just, it was actually a working title, what we had internal.
Exactly.
And then we really got, I mean, that is a fantastic name. So
we just call it, working internally, we call it Paraiba.
Okay, 50 pieces, so fantastic. Then what movement type we're using here is, so the base movement is?
Well, the base movement is 2892. But it's completely redesigned in-house, and then we have the complication, which is a Chronoswiss regulator complication, which is designed and built completely in-house.
And and maybe on the regulator complication, would you like to show quickly the open gear mechanism again? We have
on the Paraiba?
Yes, on the Paraiba.
Let me go into here. So, as I explained before, you see the open gears and the mechanism that reveals how the regulator is working. On all our open gears, this is the same type of idea, reveal the mechanism.
So there is a nice comment. Chronoswiss are leading the way in using CVD for their dials. I know of no other brand doing this. I'm extremely impressed with the Paraiba. This is fantastic. So we have to say we're impressed as well. So.
No, I think it's interesting to mention here, you know, and that's what modern mechanical is about. We were doing a lot of watches and dials with galvanic treatment in the past. So sometimes you get to a point similar to the Paraiba or the Ocean watch last year. We wanted to create, we had a color in mind. And we didn't reach the color with the classic galvanic treatments. So that's when you start thinking about, oh, I know this medtech company, maybe they can help us. And that's when modern techniques and modern materials come in place. And I think that's how these things come out. So it's the next step sometimes that you need to get to what you want.
And we have another pattern which is close to which is the same to the Paraiba, which is the one with the yellow dial.
I'm happy to show you the yellow dial as well. Would you like to show
this as well, that we can see a bit what the different aspects and the different results of the same guilloche pattern with a different CVD coating is. So
that's our yellow one. And here you see again, we worked with a different type of shortwave. But if you want to have something more loud, something more reflecting, you take a shortwave guilloche, which has a deeper structure in reflection. And I think this very nicely reveals here at the yellow type of guilloché that is also done with the PVD coating, by the way. Well, we turn it around, the yellow stitches. Yeah.
Okay, Oliver, and the one you have selected to use today and to wear
For myself?
on your wrist is as well a special coating. So let's have a look on the watch you have on your wrist right now.
It's also a Resec. Please excuse the scratches you might already have, but it's a black PVD coating. The whole watch is a black DLC coating, and inside it's a long wave guilloché that we used with the PVD nano material coating. Here again, you see the different shades that we use on different occasions. We use a matte type of hour hand. We use a matte bridge. Then we have polished screws in black. So all these different shades again help to create a certain balance of the watch.
Okay. I think what we well see here is how different these watches are looking like with the same guilloche or with a different guilloche pattern, and with these CVD coatings what we're using, how different the look can be, and yeah, how unique.
Yeah,
okay.
We're planning on doing much more on this side.
We're planning much more on this side, so this brings me to a point. So Mike was not really paying a lot of attention today when I was getting this little box out of his atelier. So,
well, Beat, this is the Holy Grail.
Shall we
show but
quickly
maybe
on what we're working on? So I just give you this little charming box out of our atelier to your.
Well, it's. Well, it's not the Holy Grail, but it's that it shows you how we work on this. And I'm just seeing here now. This was the idea. We had a customer, not a customer, somebody interested in a watch some 2 weeks ago, and he said, sand dunes. Why are you doing a Namibian watch or something?
So that was actually something what on our last webinar came up by a viewer, and then
exactly
you got somehow inspired because of your Africa trip, what you have done.
Yes, many years back I did an Africa trip with my wife. Today my wife, at that time it was our wedding occasion. But we traveled the Namib Desert, 10 days, 700 kilometers, and it reminded me so quickly about this trip when this person said, you should do a Guilloché desert Namib kind of watch. And so I took out all the pictures, and then we sat together. And I think this is one of the next projects, to have a Guilloché that reminds you and the colors of the desert.
That's fantastic.
And that's what we tried here. Starting
and
with
so
Mike.
We're testing here in this
box
here are some test results. Are we going to show some?
Well, of course, it's nothing secret.
Okay.
It's nothing secret, but when we look at all these numbers
even with
here,
the nice numbers and the post-its on it.
This is now a straight guilloche, so it's not a rose turning engine, but a straight guilloche, and we thought for all those of you who have been into a dune and you know how the wind goes through it, we decided to use a different machine, not the rose turning, but the straight guilloche machine. And we're now trying to create some kind of a pattern that could be going well with the sand dunes or the wind going through them. So this is now only the texture. And then, of course, the second 50% is then applying the right colors to it. So the combination finally makes then the remembrance of a dune or whatever. But it's nice how you see the different cuttings. Here it's a straight engine, which for my feeling is too big. And this is a a smaller one, also straight, but this probably reflects nicer the sand. So, but yeah, there's many more.
Spectacular here. Huh? What is
this one? This one is done on the rose turning engine.
Yeah.
First trial, kind of a wild dune, tornado. So maybe next project, but this is not the one we're going to be using for the.
So to clarify this, we have two machines we're doing the Guilloch on. Huh?
Yeah.
So we have one that is more like for the round Guilloch.
It's a rose turning.
This
so it's
machine
a round
is
turning
from
machine.
1924.
Correct. Yes.
So, and then we have one for the straight Guillochs, and this is not that
out
old,
from the
but
60s,
it's one
70s.
from the 60s. Yeah.
But they stopped doing the rose turning engines somewhere in the 50s, 40s. So this is really old. And then only afterwards they continue with the straight engines, and also these you cannot find today anymore.
Yeah, so there are not a lot of these old and charming machines around, and there are not a lot of people they know how to use them now.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounds simple, but don't forget, in the past, the apprenticeship to become a guillocheur has been 4 years.
Yeah. Okay.
So we educate young people here internally just to make sure we keep the know-how, because there's so much to learn and to find out and to use the right materials. It's not a theory book you open and you find out how it's done. It's really trial and error. I think this makes it so interesting.
Okay. So there is a nice question from Christian. The blue tourbillon is also stunning. Would it be possible to buy it in a different color? We have the tourbillon here, actually. Let's have a look on the tourbillon. I would love to see it in orange. So this is the watch Christian talks about.
Mm-hmm. Well, you see, Christian, thanks for watching and thanks for your remark. For us, it's always interesting to get these remarks, and we normally make a little note, and if we have a spare time, we try out a different color. The tourbillon for us is a special treat, and only 15 have been made. So we're not going to probably change the tourbillon this year, maybe the later stage. But I think the orange color, because you're mentioning it, it's something very interesting. And we were just talking now about the possible dune watch coming up. This is a color that will go into a kind of a darker orange. That's what I have in mind.
But more a bit brown on the dune watch.
Yes,
or,
brown, dark
warmer orange.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
But warm.
But I mean, here on the tourbillon, a bespoke project would be possible as well, huh? I mean, we can do bespoke projects as a small family-owned company with direct channels. So yeah. So
you know well, because
yes, okay,
you
Christian,
just started one.
If you're interested in a bespoke project, then just let us know.
Yeah, and bespoke, I mean, just to finish this, sometimes, bespoke sounds like very expensive, very complicated. Yeah. Bespoke sometimes for me is just because you have a special story to a product. And maybe, like the story now with my wife that we traveled Africa. Yeah. Maybe you want the watch in different color. Sometimes a different color is not this much of a big expenditure. Yes. But it gives you a special angle to the watch and a special story. And I think this is what life is about, to tell stories. So if you have an idea or a dream, ask us, and maybe it's just a change in color. It doesn't need to be a complete new mechanism, We
have to. I mean, let's say it this way: if it's a change of a color, then it's something which is efficiently. Also, it's an efficient way to do a bespoke watch with a changed color, and we have the designer in house. So Mike is happy to create such a design with a customer who's interested in. But when it comes to changing a function, then it's of course a different kind of project. Yeah. But color changes, that is actually
we do this quite often.
Quite often. Yeah. So let's see what other questions we have here. Will more of your watches use the CVD technology in the future? Yes, as just mentioned, I think CVD, PVD technology, all this nano coating,
just gives you a much wider variety of colors and of possibilities. And I think the same as we're going to be using galvanic colors in the future, because it's just beautiful to do galvanic. There are going to be some colors we have in mind which we need to create with PVD colors and coatings. So maybe there's even some other technology that we discover. The idea is always to create what you have in mind and reuse all the materials to it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So,
Christian Kliman, the blue tourbillon. Oh, that's, thank you so much for these hundreds of questions. That's amazing.
Yeah. So
I can. I think more questions than in some of the seminars we had at the last exhibition. So quite intensive.
So we were talking shortly about this number one here. So we always keep the number one for special occasions, right? Of the Paraiba. Would you like to show it again?
Yes, we do. We do. Sometimes we have somebody walking in who has a special wish or so. So I think it's always beautiful to have number one ready. This is the number one out of 50, which we kept so far. Turn it around now again. A very nice Paraiba color rotor.
So let's say it this way, we defended it a bit for this webinar, what we had in mind to do on today, on May 4.
Yes, today let's call it a special occasion.
Yes, it's
I know
special
you
occasion,
what you
okay?
want.
So if someone is interested in the number one, then yeah, you have
I think we would give it away today, yes.
Yes. So the idea is actually that if someone watches this year and is interested into the number one, then a direct message to us would be right, and we would say that
it's here
to give it away on this channel.
Yes, we love the watch to be at somebody's wrist, absolutely.
Then we have a nice comment from Thomas. The day I will have the fund, it will be my first luxury watch brand I will buy. Thomas, we're ready for you. Whenever you're ready, then please get in contact with us, and we're absolutely happy to have a Chronoswiss on your wrist.
This is a nice comment, thank you. And all this we're going to be sharing anyway afterwards with the team. That is a good kick for everybody. Thanks, Thomas.
Then we have a nice thing. Chronoswiss 40th anniversary is coming soon. Will the Delphis be coming back with a CVD dial?
I mean, I love this.
We should not talk too much about it, right? Or
no, but I think we can say the following. As you have seen now the last couple of years, it's always something from the past that we take and we redesign for today's world, or for our today's Chronoswiss world. And Delphis is definitely part of an important collection in the past. And I myself, I love the Delphis. And it's a question of time. I cannot tell you exactly when, but it's already in the pipeline, the design, etc. I think for everything there needs to be some time, but Delphis is definitely something we're working on.
So there is a question for what the price for the Paraiba is. So the Paraiba is 9,700 Swiss francs. So as well, the number one is 9,700 Swiss francs. Then there is another question from Patrick. Are your watches COSC certified?
No, but the techniques and the way of measuring, we are around the COSC numbers. So we don't certify them COSC, but I think if we would reach the goals that you have to apply for COSC.
And we have, for example, Karin as a watchmaker here in the back. She sits here behind Oliver, and she's one of our watchmakers who regulates the watch by hand to these
to the standards.
COSC results, actually. So
yes.
Everything done by hand. Yeah. This is, we have a question from Christian. This is impressive. Can one watch you working on this? Can one watch you working on these old machines?
Of course, of course. You've seen the videos before, and what we do here in Lucerne, we have basically a walk-in atelier. This has been the idea some 10 years back. It's always beautiful to share what we're doing. That was the idea. And so when you walk in or when you visit us, we're happy to show you how we work on the Guilloché machines. We have even a Guilloché machine at one of our windows, and when Mike or whoever is working on it, people walking by in the street, they can see how it works. And we now do also one-to-one calls with Zoom or with 4K cameras. So if somebody's interested in a watch, sometimes we take him over with the camera and we show him how it works. So feel free, if you're really interested, to call up Beat. Not on Sundays anymore.
I'm
even on Sundays.
Available as well on Sundays. So the best is actually to send a WhatsApp message, and then we are responsive as well on Sunday, of course.
You know what would be good? We have your data online, so maybe we show this, because we're now talking all the time about Beat, and if you want to reach somebody here in Lucerne, we show now Beat's information. Is it here? Oh yeah, Beat Weimann down here. You can also find it on the homepage. Mobile number, and it's really, we try to be quick and respond to you. Is it about a watch? Is it about a service? Or is it, as you just mentioned, seeing our machine, how they work? So we'll find a solution to do so.
So what you're bringing up is actually our 4K camera system here. So the idea with this is that we bridge a bit the gap to hold the watch in your hands and to get a feeling for how the watch would look like without being able to get into a boutique. So
that's actually a good question. We should ask our audience.
Yeah. So
because
we're really interested in if you think that a watch is buyable online. Is it, or are you comfortable with buying a watch online? How do you see the future in luxury products and e-commerce? So this is, the whole industry is thinking about this, and we have our own ideas in this as well. And we are, of course, very much interested in to get feedbacks, what people think about this.
Yes. So if you have something in mind you'd like to talk on these topics about, it would be interesting just to put it in the chat, and we're happy to comment on this. But that's the opposite now. That was a question to the audience.
Absolutely. So we have our questions as well. So there is a nice comment from Arno. Congratulations to your new and wonderful watch.
Thank you. Oh no.
So actually,
this I think it's a good point to say thank you to everybody.
We would say, yeah.
And for joining us here in the Atelier Lucerne. And there are going to be more webinars coming up, but I think today was really about the Paraiba, because many people called us up and said, listen, you have to show this again. And the first step into modern mechanics, what this means for Chronoswiss, for us. So thank you, Beat.
Thank you, Oliver. Thanks to everybody. And
thanks to the audience.
It was a pleasure for us.
Thank you for watching.
We hope you enjoyed it. And have a good evening, a good morning, wherever you are. And good night if you're in the East.
Thanks from here. All the best. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.